Okay, great. So, hello. How are you doing today, and where are you dialing from?
I'm doing well. I'm dialing in from Bangalore, India.
Is it hot over there?
It is. It it is hot and rainy, and
Oh,
yeah, so it can be a little. Uh, yeah, we're kind of moving into the great Indian monsoon season. Yeah,
oh, I'm from Poland, and it's quite good here. So, but I'm a little
right.
bit of jealous. All right, let's start with getting to know you and your expertise. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Right. So my career graph has been in advertising. And I started off as a journalist, then moved into advertising. And then post multiple years, close to about 10 years in advertising, I've moved in. I took a break in my career, and then I started a travel company called Unventured Expeditions, which is into bicycle touring, experiential travel. And I was able to build, we were the first ones to sort of introduce bicycle travel in India. And so we managed to build a community of cyclists who would go touring in the country, outside of the country. So bike packing was our thing. And then now I am part. The pandemic took our businesses down. So what was a main job has now become a side hustle. And then during the pandemic, over the pandemic, past the pandemic, I joined a generative AI-based design platform called Civi.ai. And I had communities and partnerships with them. So yeah, so building something from scratch has been my thing. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, let me start with my most favorite question, actually. If you could have any superpower just for one day, what
Mhm.
would it be, and how would you use it to advance your field, which is probably building communities and partnerships?
Right. Um, so if I well, I my core belief is in kindness and empathy. So my big my wish for a superpower would be to be able to walk into any room and invoke kindness and empathy in that room. And I want to say walk into a room because I'm also curious, which will take me to different, some chaotic rooms, always chaotic rooms, and some very, very powerful rooms. And I believe in these spaces of chaos and power, if there is the ability to invoke kindness and empathy, that will change the world.
That would absolutely be incredible to, to be able to immediately affect such audience. Yes, absolutely. That's a great superpower. Now let's get a
Yeah,
little bit more
right.
specific. And could you tell me what strategies have you found, to be more effective when it comes to fostering communities or maybe business teams, partners, business partners? What are your strategies?
Yeah, so I believe that setting the guidelines is very important. You have to have your goal in place when you're setting a community, and the people in the community should share that same goal and the identity of the community, right? The community is made of the people, and there has to be a strong commitment toward it. A lot of the times that I've seen, a community start off great, they're very enthusiastic, everyone's sharing things, and then it becomes unsustainable over time. There should be a certain guideline to keep it sustainable. And there has to be a plan in building this community. You can't go from 0 to 500 in 5 days, but you'll have to go from 0 to 5, 5 to 10, 10 to 20, and then slowly build that community. If you're starting it from scratch, I think all communities, when you build it from scratch, you will have to, it is like stepping into um, uh, shallow waters and then going deeper and deeper. And as you go deeper, you will have to learn to swim, float, whatever it is, to keep yourself and the community alive. And a community, I believe, must provide an opportunity to learn, because that's why you have people who have come to you. I mean, I can give you an example. When we had this network, a travelers network of bike packers, and this was a Facebook group, we constantly put in information about, we shared everything we know absolutely free of cost. We didn't say you'll have to do a tour with Unventured to find out about some great accommodations. They didn't have to do a tour with Unventured to find out some great biking trails in the country. We said, hey, this is an amazing trail that we did a recce of. Here it is for you for free. Just go cycle if you want to. And we've always been very, very open with sharing everything we know, because when you're building a community, your knowledge is your money. Your knowledge is your extra money that you are willing to share, right? And the more you share your knowledge, the larger your network. The larger your network, the bigger your net worth. And then we soon realized it was paying us back. And so I would say, number one, set the guidelines to be with a shared goal where everybody comes with one intention. Commit to showing up day after day after day, right? Don't have that
consistency.
Yeah, just be consistent, sustainably consistent, and then have that sense of trust within the community where you are, where you have the where you have enough knowledge to say, okay, this is what I know, and this is the best of my understanding, and I have been there, done that. And that kind of knowledge is very important that you're sharing with the community. And celebrate. And the most important part of building a community is cheering for somebody else. So if somebody were to go and do something amazing in the community, it could be a marketing community, it could be a product launch community, it could be a mentorship community. If somebody's done brilliantly well, and cheer for them, which I like about Gleek, Kate. There's been so much of cheering. I think that's I've learned so much from Gleek.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree that we trust companies who share their knowledge even for free, because we can see that they do have a lot to share, and we want to follow them. So I absolutely agree about that. This is the positive side that we've just discussed. But what are some mistakes that businesses often make when it comes to fostering, collaboration and communities? Crucial mistakes,
Yeah, take all that and the complete opposite of it. Like, just imagine creating a community.
Maybe you have some examples, from right. Case studies, just some examples to make it vivid.
I have been part of some communities where the guidelines were not set, and soon it becomes a free-for-all advertising community, right? Where you have a community for bicycle touring, and somebody is selling jewelry on it. You don't want that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're probably in the wrong community. And so if you don't have the guidelines set in place, again, poor communication, where you don't communicate where the knowledge that you have has to be shared in a way, right? It can't be haphazard. There has to be a structure to the knowledge you have. So many times I've seen in communities, people are sharing, but it's really random. It's making no sense. So there has to be a structure to the way you share knowledge. I'll give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you an example of how of the community in my bicycling group, where we have set guidelines and say, okay, if you want to talk about a bike packing trip, you have to cover XYZ things first, a small intro, a list of things to pack, the route, and then places to stay, right? Without that, don't share it. Don't just go and post 500 pictures and say how much fun you had on it, because that's not going to make sense for the community. Unless you want to share what you know and what you did, And if you were to share like 5 pictures with, all the details of a route and places to stay, that makes sense. From a design community point of view, if you've figured out a new design tool, talk about how you have used it in your work, talk about the pros and cons of that X design tool, and talk about the future that the design tool promises, right? Like have some kind of a way to share information. And the next would be, again, I would say the inability to sustain. And the foremost and most important piece here is unequal contribution and benefits. Let's say, I'm sharing something all the time and nobody else is participating, right? And there's a giver and a taker in a community. If there is always like top five givers, and then there are just the rest of the 100 are just takers, then the givers are exhausted. They're like, hey, what am I getting back, right? So we have to make sure that there is ample engagement and there is an opportunity for everybody to share what they know. So the discussions in the community will have to be in line with the people who are part of that community. If it's a marketing community, some people may be great with SEO, some people may be great with design, and some people may be great with strategy, right? So the discussions in the community will have to cater to all of them, and you have to kind of personally tag them. And I would say, get to know the people in your community one-on-one. Don't just add them. And when before even they enter your community, make sure they share what their skills are. Again, something Gleek does, right? They ask you, what do you do? How can you contribute? So based on that, fit them in those particular groups and segments so they feel valued, and that they also have a sense of the information shared in the community makes sense for them. So yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. This is a great advice. So what I saw from your bio, you have that you're like you're helping build communities as well as partnerships. What do you mean under partnerships? It's just not like within the company, probably it's something outside, or also as well like inside the company.
So partnerships has been something that, so I can give you an example from the startup that I co-founded. We traveled through some of the most remote spaces in the country, and we had to partner with small homestays to allow, because we go through, if you're familiar with India and especially the Himalayan region of India, we may be the most populated country in the world, but the Himalayan region of India is bare bones. You will find maybe a person in 20 kilometers, a home in 5 to 10 kilometers. A village has 5 homes. This is spaces like Spiti. So when we cycle through, I mean, in a car, you can cover farther distances, but when you are a bike packer, you don't cover as much as the distance that a car will cover, especially if you're climbing 30, 40 kilometers, it's like pretty steep gradients. You have to be able to build a partnership with the local people there.
So yeah, this is what my question is tied for. As a Greek mentor, when it comes to partnerships, what maybe steps would you advise businesses to take when it comes to building these kind of partnerships? Just to be specific on what we can bring our audience.
Right. I would say connect. All business partnerships are made when you're not talking business. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that's a given. Nobody has ever built a great business partnership by talking, this is my Excel sheet of profits and this is your Excel sheet of profits. How are we going to combine this? No partnership is made. Partnerships are made when you sit down and you ask the right questions and say, where do you see me giving you value? That has to
Shared
always
value. Mm-hmm.
shared value, right? And you sit down and say, okay, this is where I see you bringing value for me, right? And have a very empathetic heart to understand. If I've always believed every dispute is a cry of for help, or a, or a need for love, right? So see where this, if somebody is not agreeing to a partnership, it could be a cry for help. Maybe you're not building the partnership with the right, there is no mutual ground there. And if you saw the mutual ground, always come back and recheck that mutual ground and say, okay, is it really there? Constantly do a check-in and say, are we still on the right track that we believe that we are going to build this partnership on? It's like a marriage, right? Every month you have to make time to sit down with your partner and say, hey, how are we doing? Right? Are we meeting each other's goals? Are we spiritually meeting each other's goals? Are we romantically meeting each other's goals? Are we emotionally meeting each other's goals? And in business, it need not be it definitely is spiritual, but you would ask, are we meeting each other's goals financially, right? Are we meeting each other's goals in terms of the revenues we agreed, in terms of the other softer things that we agreed to bring upon? Are we meeting that? If we're not, where is the problem? How can I help you? How can I support you? And be open to communicate. My God, speak as much as you can. If you're a business building a partnership, speak as much, and then say that, okay, this is where I have my constraints, and this is the help I need from you to for me to meet you halfway. So I've always believed that having non-business conversations lead to actually meaningful business conversations.
This is a great final advice. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Tash. It's probably the first live where I actually discussed so in depth, when it comes to communities and partnership. It was really valuable and really insightful. Again, thank you so much. If the audience likes to learn more about Tash, you can visit her profile on our Gleek website. Thank you so much for being part of our community. I'm really glad to hear that you're enjoying it here, and the best is yet to come. So
Yeah, I
have a
love
good
the
weekend, Tash.
community.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, bye.
Bye.